When a man truly loves a woman, he does not show it the way stories describe it. He does not always say the right words or express emotions easily, but inside his heart something powerful begins to move, something that often scares him. Because love for a man is not a soft, gentle feeling. It is a flood. It is a storm inside his chest that he does not know how to control. And this story begins with Daniel, a quiet man who had spent most of his life believing that love was not meant for him. He had always been logical structure, someone who lived with routines and walls built around him, walls created after years of disappointments. Yet he never admitted that to anyone. He simply lived on autopilot until the day he met Elena, the kind of woman who did not try to steal his attention. She just existed with a calm presence that felt like sunlight, and he did not understand why he felt drawn to her. Because men like Daniel do not fall in love with beauty. They fall in love with peace, and Elena carried a peace he had never seen before. At first, he resisted it. He pretended. He did not feel anything. He acted normal. Yet every night when he went home, he found himself thinking about her smile, the way she spoke softly, the way she made people comfortable around her, and this confused him. Because when a man begins to care deeply, he also begins to fear deeply. He fears losing what he has not even received. He fears being vulnerable. He fears being seen, truly seen by someone. And Daniel had spent his entire life avoiding vulnerability, so he tried to convince himself it was nothing. But the more he tried to deny the feeling, the stronger it grew. He started noticing small things like the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the way she listened without interrupting, the way she laughed with her whole heart. And slowly something inside him started waking up. But instead of making him confident, it made him anxious. Men do not talk about this, but the truth is when a man really loves a woman, he becomes terrified not of her, but of himself, because he knows that love will expose every hidden part in parts. He does not want anyone to see parts he does not even fully understand. And Daniel found himself fighting a silent battle between desire and fear. He wanted to get closer, but he also wanted to run. And that confusion grew each day. One evening, when they were both leaving work, she asked him casually how he was doing, and although it was a simple question, it hit him deeper than he expected, because no one had asked him that with genuine care in a long time, and instead of answering honestly, he gave a short mechanical reply. But as he walked away, he felt a pain in his chest, a pain created by his own inability to open up. He knew she deserved a better version of him, yet he did not know how to become that man. What he did not realize was that Elena was not asking for perfection. She was not asking for grand gestures. She just wanted honesty, a connection, something real. But Daniel kept his emotions locked inside like a man standing behind a glass wall, wanting to reach out, but refusing to break the glass. One night, he sat alone in his apartment, thinking about her again, and he wondered why he felt so restless, why her presence stayed with him long after she was gone. Then a truth hit him, something he never dared admit. He was falling in love, but instead of feeling excitement, he felt fear. Love had always looked dangerous to him. He had watched relationships fall apart. He had watched people use love as a weapon. He had seen hearts break and promises dissolve. So he built a belief inside himself that love was unpredictable and therefore unsafe. But Elena was different. She did not try to pull emotions out of him. She did not push. She did not pressure. She simply showed up with kindness, and kindness is the one thing that melts a man's defenses without him noticing. Soon, he found himself wanting to protect her, wanting to be better, wanting to open up, but he did not know where to start, because when a man is deeply in love, he becomes silent on the outside, loud on the inside. He analyzes everything. He fears disappointment. He fears hurting her. He fears not being enough. And Daniel carried all these fears like invisible weight, even though she never demanded anything. The next morning, he saw her again, and something inside him whispered, tell her something real. But fear grabbed his throat and kept him silent. He hated himself for that, because every time she smiled, he felt something beautiful unfolding inside him, something that felt like home. But home was also something he had never truly known, which made the feeling even more frightening. Men fear love when it feels too real, because real love requires a truth. They have never spoken of softness. They have never shown a vulnerability. They have never allowed. And Daniel wrestled with that for weeks. He wanted to step forward, but his fear held him back until one day he saw her talking to someone else, laughing comfortably, and instead of jealousy, he felt something deeper. He felt the weight of not expressing his heart. He felt the pain of holding back. He felt that if he continued like this, he would lose her without ever trying, and that terrified him more than vulnerability. So he found himself walking toward her without thinking, and when she looked at him, her eyes warm and welcoming, something cracked inside him. The walls he had spent years building suddenly felt heavy, like they were crushing him instead of protecting him. And 4. The first time in a long time he let his heart breathe. He did not confess anything grand. He did not say anything romantic. He simply looked into her eyes with honesty and said, "Can we talk?" But inside those simple words was an entire world, a world full of fear, hope, longing, confusion, and desire. And Elena saw it. She sensed something shifting in him, because women often feel emotions men cannot say, and in that moment something began changing in. The story of Daniel, a man who had been afraid to love and afraid to be loved. When a man truly loves a woman, he does not want to lose her. He does not want to hurt her. He does not want to disappoint her. And most of all, he does not want to fail her. But sometimes his biggest battle is learning how to open the door to his own heart. And this was the beginning of Daniel's journey, a journey of learning that love is not weakness. It is strength to strength. He never knew he had a strength he was about to discover, because the moment he decided to talk to her was the moment his life quietly began to change. Daniel and Elena walked toward the small cafe near their office, and though the afternoon sun was warm, Daniel felt a cold nervousness inside him, because he knew this moment mattered more than anything he had done in years. He did not know what he would say. He had never been good with emotions, but something inside him insisted that he had to try. Elena sensed his tension, yet she did not rush him. She simply sat across from him with the patience of someone who understood that hearts opened slowly when they've been closed for too long. Daniel looked at his hands on the table, noticing how they trembled, and inside him memories stirred, memories of being rejected, memories of being misunderstood, memories of being told he was too quiet, too cold, too distant, memories that shaped him into a man afraid of showing his feelings. He had spent years believing that emotions made him weak, so now sitting across a woman who made him feel everything he had buried, he felt exposed and uncertain. Elena gently asked what he wanted to talk about, and Daniel swallowed hard because he knew she deserved honesty, not perfection. So he told her about his fear, not in a dramatic speech, but in the stumbling, sincere way of a man who had never spoken from the heart before. He said that he often kept people at a distance, not because he did not care, but because he cared too much. He said that sometimes he pushed away the very things he wanted because he was scared of losing them. He said that opening up was difficult for him, and he was afraid she would not understand. Elena listened without interrupting, and her silence felt safe, a rare silence that encouraged him to continue. He confessed that her presence had changed him slowly, quietly, unexpectedly. He told her that he felt drawn to her in a way that confused him, because it had been years since he allowed himself to feel anything this deep, and though he did not yet understand what it meant, he knew he did not want to ignore it anymore. Elena felt her heart soften listening to him, because she saw a man trying not to impress her, but to be real with her, and being real is far more valuable than being perfect. When he finished speaking, he felt strangely lighter, as if he had exhaled a weight he had been carrying for years. Elena reached out and gently touched his hand, and that single touch felt like sunlight on a cold morning. Daniel felt warmth spread through him, and for the first time, he felt something terrifying and beautiful at the same time. Hope. Elena told him that she liked him, too, not because he hid his feelings, but because he was finally showing them. She told him that she never expected him to be someone else. She just wanted him to be authentic. And Daniel felt something move inside him, a feeling he had long forgotten, the feeling of being accepted without having to perform or pretend. For the first time, he felt he could breathe freely around someone. Yet with this comfort came a new fear, because when a man starts to love, he also fears losing what gives him peace. He fears disappointment. He fears not being enough. He fears that one day she will discover the version of him he has always been afraid of showing. As days passed, Daniel began to change, not quickly, not dramatically, but quietly and consistently, the way a flower grows, without noise. He started paying more attention to her little habits, the way she played with her bracelet, when she was thinking, the way she laughed softly, when she was nervous, the way she looked directly into his eyes when she wanted to understand him, and these details made him fall deeper every day. But falling deeper meant fearing deeper, because love for a man is not only emotion, it is responsibility. He began worrying if he would hurt her unintentionally, or if he would fail her unknowingly, yet at the same time he wanted to protect her. He wanted to see her smile. He wanted to make her feel safe and valued. And this push and pull emotion made his heart restless. Some nights Daniel lay awake thinking about her, imagining futures he was too afraid to believe in. He found himself wanted to show her more of himself, wanted to trust her with stories he had never said aloud, wanted to share the parts of himself he usually hid. But vulnerability is difficult for a man who has spent years building walls. So he hesitated even when every piece of him wanted to step forward. One evening, after work, Elena invited him to walk by the river. The golden light of sunset reflected softly on the water, And Daniel felt strangely calm as they walked. She asked him about his dreams. His fears has passed, and though he hesitated, he answered slowly, trying to allow her into his world. Elena did not judge him when he revealed his insecurities. She did not flinch when he shared that he had been hurt before. She did not step back when he admitted he was afraid of failing in relationships. Instead, she stepped closer and told him that everyone carries fears, but facing them with someone makes them less heavy, and those words stayed with him, like a quiet echo, because he had never experienced. Someone wanted to face anything with him. Daniel realized something important. A man does not fall in love when he is overwhelmed with passion. A man falls in love when he feels safe enough to stop pretending. And with Elena, he was beginning to feel that safety, but with safety came a dangerous question. What if he lost the fear of losing her became so intense that he sometimes pulled back subconsciously? He would distance himself without meaning, to go quiet without explanation, behave cold. Without intention, not because he did not care, but because he cared too much and did not know how to manage overwhelming emotion. Elena noticed this, and instead of reacting with frustration, she chose compassion. She gently told him that she was there for him, but he needed to meet her halfway. Her softness did not pressure him, but it awakened him, because men often respond more to gentle truth than harsh criticism. Daniel realized that love required effort, commitment, and courage, especially courage. So, the next time he felt fear rising inside him, he decided not to run from it, but to talk to her. He told her that sometimes he disappeared emotionally because he panicked, because he was afraid of becoming too attached, because he feared something happening to her or the relationship. But he did not want to be that way anymore. He wanted to learn how to love. Without fear, Elena smiled with tenderness that made his chest warm. She told him that love was not about perfection, but about presence, and it was enough for her that he was trying. Daniel felt something shift inside him again, a deep, quiet strength. He never knew he possessed the strength to trust, the strength to stay, the strength to be honest. And slowly things began to change. A man who once avoided emotional closeness started sending her messages in the morning. The man who once hid his feelings started expressing what he appreciated about a man who once resisted. Vulnerability started opening up like a door he had kept locked for years. But the most beautiful change was not something Elena saw. It was something Daniel felt inside himself for the first time in a long time. He felt worthy of being loved. And when a man begins to feel worthy of love, his whole world changes. His voice becomes softer, his eyes become brighter, his heart becomes steadier. He becomes someone who loves not out of fear, but out of truth. Daniel was still learning, still stumbling, still facing moments of internal conflict, but he was no longer alone on the journey. Elena walked beside him with patience and quiet strength, and Daniel realized something profound. Loving her did not weaken him, it awakened him. It made him stronger, braver, more alive. And this was just the beginning of his transformation, because true love does not change a man instantly. It changes him slowly, in the small moments, in the quiet choices, in the courage to be seen. And Daniel was finally learning how to be seen. Daniel stood at the edge of everything he had ever feared and everything he had ever wanted, because loving Elena had opened a door inside him that he had spent a lifetime keeping locked. And now, as the days passed, he began to realize that love was no longer something distant or impossible. It was something alive, growing inside him with every moment they shared. And the strange thing was that even though he was afraid, he no longer wanted to run from it. One evening, they visited a small coastal town, a place with old wooden streets and a great view of the endless ocean. Elena loved the sea, and Daniel loved watching her love something so deeply. They walked along the shoreline, letting the waves play around their feet. And for a moment it felt as if the world paused just to give them time to breathe. Daniel felt something stirring inside him, a feeling so gentle and yet so powerful that he did not know how to contain it. He watched Elena looking at the horizon, her hair moving with the wind, and he felt something inside him whisper that he wanted this moment to last forever. But forever was a terrifying idea for a man who once feared commitment. So he took a slow, deep breath, gathering the courage to speak. Elena turned to him, noticing the intensity in his eyes, and she asked softly what he was thinking. Daniel struggled for words because he was not used to speaking from his heart, yet he felt he had to try. He told her that being with her felt like standing in sunlight after years of living in shadows. He told her that loving her was both terrifying and beautiful because she was the first person who made him feel truly seen. Elena listened with her heart, her eyes soft and warm, encouraging him without a single spoken word. Daniel said that even though he was still learning, he wanted her to know that he chose her every day with intention, not by accident, and that he wanted to build something real, something steady, something that could stand Even when life tried to shake them, Elena felt her chest fill with emotion because she had hoped for this moment, but never pressured him to reach it. She stepped closer, placing her hand over his heart, and he felt his entire body soften. At the touch, Daniel realized that a man does not love with just words. He loves with presence. He loves with small actions. He loves with the courage to stay when there's every reason to run. And staying was exactly what he chose to do from that point on. Their lives began weaving together in ways they had not planned. Simple things like grocery shopping, cooking together, laughing over small mistakes, or taking quiet walks at night turned into meaningful rituals. Daniel began showing a side of himself that no one had ever seen. He became more attentive, more thoughtful, more expressive, not because he was trying to be someone else, but because love was bringing out parts of him he had long buried. Elena noticed everything, the way he held her hand slightly tighter when they crossed the street, the way he remembered details she mentioned only once, the way his eyes softened whenever she entered a room. Yet alongside this growth, Daniel still had moments of vulnerability. Moments when old fears resurfaced without warning. Sometimes doubt would creep into his mind, whispering that he was not enough. Sometimes he would question whether he deserved this love. Sometimes the weight of his past would pull at him. But instead of hiding these fears, he began sharing them with Elena. She listened without judgment, offering comfort without control, and her acceptance made him stronger, because when a man is loved with patience, he transforms. Without being pushed, one night Daniel confessed something he had never told anyone, that he feared losing people because he had lost so much in the past, that he feared disappointment because he had been disappointed many times, that he feared being too much and not enough. At the same time, Elena cupped his face gently and told him that true love was not about perfection, but sincerity. She told him that loving someone meant walking with them through their fears, not avoiding them. She told him that she did not expect him to be fearless, only honest, and that sentence wrapped itself around Daniel like a warm blanket, giving him a sense of safety he had never known. Slowly his confidence grew, not the loud kind, but the quiet kind of confidence of a man who finally felt worthy of love. One morning, Daniel woke up earlier than usual, the soft light of dawn entering through his window. He lay still, thinking about everything he had experienced since meeting Elena, and he realized something. This was the first time in years he woke up excited for the future instead of afraid of it. Love had not made his life perfect, but it had made it meaningful. Elena had not removed his fears, but she had made them easier to face. Daniel began dreaming again, dreaming of a life where their mornings started together, dreaming of a home filled with laughter, dreaming of a future where he did not have to walk alone. He began imagining possibilities that once scared him, because now the fear did not control him. Soon he realized that dreams were not enough. He wanted something concrete, something real, something that would show Elena how deeply he cared. So he planned something simple but meaningful, a small picnic by the river, where they first spoke openly about their feelings. He prepared her favorite snacks, brought a blanket, and chose a quiet spot under an old tree. When she arrived, she looked surprised but touched, and they sat together watching the gentle flow of the water. Daniel took her hands, and though his voice trembled, he spoke from the deepest part of himself. He told her that meeting her was one of the greatest gifts his life had ever given him. He told her that she had helped him grow in ways he did not know were possible. He told her that he wanted to continue choosing her every day, not because he needed her, but because he loved who he became with her. Elena felt her eyes fill with tears as she heard his words, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming beauty of being loved so honestly. Daniel then said something that made her heart melt. He told her that he was ready for whatever future they built together. He told her that he wanted to walk beside her through every joy, every challenge, every unknown that life might bring. Elena leaned into him, resting her head on his shoulder, and Daniel wrapped his arms around her, holding her with a tenderness he once thought himself incapable of feeling. In that moment, he realized that love was not something he found. Love was something he allowed himself to receive and give, a flow of trust that required courage and faith. The river continued moving quietly. The leaves rustled softly above them, and Daniel felt an inner stillness settle inside him, a stillness that told him he was exactly where he was meant to be. He knew there would still be difficult days, moments of insecurity, moments when they misunderstood each other, moments when life tested their patience. But he also knew he would no longer face these moments alone, because Elena was with him, and he was with her, and together they were learning that love is not about avoiding storms. It is about walking through them hand in hand with faith and tenderness. As the sun set, Daniel whispered a quiet promise in his heart, a promise to keep growing, a promise to keep loving, a promise to keep choosing Elena with honesty and courage every single day. And with that promise, something profound awakened inside him. the understanding that true love does not change a man by force, it changes him by giving him a safe place to become who he was, always meant to be,